Login accepted.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. I want to thank the Swift Club for having us and Dr. Brandon Brown for inviting, having the idea to have this panel here. So I'm going to talk about fostering experiential learning, cybersecurity learning through stakeholder collaboration, because I think it's important for us to recognize how these things work. And they really work, in my opinion, thanks to a lot of collaboration. So it's not just, one team. So my name is Indira Guzman. I am an assistant professor of computer information systems at Cal Poly Pomona. I'm also the director of the Mitchell Hill Center for Digital Innovation. And today I'm going to talk a little bit about the role of the center, and currently the coordinator of the information security and forensics track at Cal Poly Pomona, and the faculty advisor for Women in Tech Club. So I really believe that extracurricular activities and clubs are very important. So we'll talk about that. So first of all, I think we need to look at the big picture, the importance of continuous innovation. And you all know that in this field, being in IT, you always have to catch up, right? You got to catch up all the time. And why? So the point is why cybersecurity education needs innovation. And my perspective here is that first of all, we have to catch up. It's part of the profession. It's part of being in IT. In terms of, we know how, the internet and all this was created to facilitate communication between us, but we never thought about security, right? Like that wasn't the first idea. Oh yeah, we should talk about security. It was as it evolved, but we know that there are more threats and cyber threats in the world. So education must keep up. We definitely need to catch up all the time. And also the industry demands require the applied skills. So I think this kind of event is one important showcase example of how is it we are doing that. Because we have to recognize that the traditional, model centered in one topic is not enough. Is not enough. We need, and that's why I think, the college experience, and I'll tell you more about my stakeholder collaboration approach is very important. So experiential learning supported by diverse stakeholders. We are all part of this experiential learning education, and that's my point. So here we have some information that of the things that are happening now, right? About all the many laid off people, IT layoffs, like 123,000 in 2025, and different, like 269 companies. In 2026, we have already 45,000 layoffs, right? That's the reality. There are lots of job cuts, and many, of course, will give all kinds of different reasons. A lot mention AI, but we all know that it's always about the money, right? If you're going to use your resources for AI, you need to find money from somewhere, right? So and of course, the need for implement AI, but we know that we are still working on real implementations of AI. Like it's not really like fully boom implemented. You switch a button and then boom starts working, right? That's not happening. But we need the money to start making work. So definitely there are lots of changes going on, and we can always look at the negative side. It's scary. But of course, the positive side is, okay, you know what? It's exciting. Let's see what is it we can do to run the play instead of letting us, just go by. We really need to do something. And on the other hand, there are reports like the World Economic Forum that talks about the importance of, by 2030, 70% of the skills used in most jobs will change, right? So there's more need for different kinds of skills, and the jobs are changing. So we all need to catch up. That's the message. I mean, we have just important numbers there that show that. And there's a lot of disruption going on. So I'm looking at some theory, of course. From a PhD, you want to always look at theory to explain things. Theory helps us explain things. So experiential learning theory, which is not a new theory from 1984, but it talks about promoting active learning-centered education. And by the name, it's easy to describe. We're talking about practice, continuous skill development, and problem-solving fields. I mean, that's very applicable to our field, and that aligns to the depth in cybersecurity knowledge. We want depth, it's important to have an understanding of a little bit of everything, but finding ways to get some depth in certain areas, which is why we need the practical applied learning. So I put this quote: traditional models emphasize on theoretical breadth. However, real world cybersecurity requires applied depth. And I got that quote from Dan Manson and Ron Pike, who are faculty members at Cal Poly Pomona who retired, but have done a great impact in the education at Cal Poly Pomona. But so the point is, again, apply depth, and all that is requiring authentic tasks, rapid feedback. So, this kind of interaction of you do something and what is it you're getting out of that? The self-direct learning. We know that IT professionals, there's always this problem-solving kind of a skill, but also continuous learning, right? Continuous and self-directing learning, adapting to current cybersecurity challenges. And that's where I go with this concept: stakeholder engagement bridges that gap. We need that stakeholder engagement. So what do we mean? What do we mean with stakeholder engagement? The way I define this is a coordinated effort of all groups that contribute to rich hands-on cybersecurity learning environment. So it's a stakeholder effort. You see, it's some kind of coordination that makes it work better in order to get that experiential learning. So not just concepts. And that includes this interaction between several stakeholders, and we are all part of that. So when you think, we think it's all for the students' experiential learning. We think about the faculty, right? Obviously, teaching the courses, but we have the industry professionals, and very important because you are either a student or the industry professional when you become an alum, and you are part of stakeholder of this whole experiential learning experience, right? So we have the student clubs, which I think are very important, and I really respect the fact that you are all taking a Saturday here to be here and be part of this and contribute to the clubs, even if you are online or just watching the recording. You're taking the time and energy to do that and to contribute to this whole experiential learning. And we have the community. With community, obviously, we have a staff, but we also have the community, and it's I actually like this interaction with, for example, the community college with Cal Poly Pomona, with other institutions. It's important to collaborate because we are all on the same page and we all need to catch up and we all need to collaborate. Then I like to bring IT staff, and now Curtis Carpenter works the director of the advanced computing at Cal Poly Pomona, but we work closely with IT, with the actual IT department in Cal Poly Pomona, because that bridges that gap between actual communication with industry and the classroom. So we're going to talk more about that, but very, very important stakeholder, and of course, funding institutions, because it's important to have resources to promote this kind of activities. And I will give you the example that the Mitchell Hill Center that I direct, that pretty much gives that kind of opportunity from funding for resources. So the Mitchell Hill Center for Digital Innovation has been founded thanks to an endowment. So Mitchell Hill was an alum from Cal Poly Pomona, and he was the founding CEO of the company Avanade. Has anybody heard about Avanade? Not everybody. Well, some, yeah, okay. Yeah, so Avanade is a company that is part of Accenture that also owns Microsoft. So it's basically a big company that has like more than, I don't have the number, but I think it's more than 100,000 employees and in more than 50 countries. So it's a huge company that pretty much provides the support for companies that use Microsoft products. Okay, so it's a huge company. Avanade is, again, in multiple countries. It's like Microsoft. It's part of Accenture. Accenture owns Microsoft. It's the same group. And it's huge that he founded this company, Avanade, and today it's still a big company. He passed away, and when he passed away, but he used to also already be very active at Cal Poly Pomona, and their family, they put this endowment. And thanks to that endowment, we have we have the Mitchell Hill Center for Digital Innovation and some of the things that we do there. So I want to be respectful with the time. Because, if there's time, I wanted to show you the video that was recorded about him. But what we want to remember from this is the fact that it was an alum, just like all of you, was a student at Cal Poly Pomona. He was in IT, and then he went and became successful. And part of that money came to Cal Poly Pomona and an endowment, meaning that thanks to that money, there is some sustainable support to the efforts at Cal Poly. For example, with that we can, first of all, we have the Student Data Center, the Mitchell Hill Student Data Center. How many of you have seen the Student Data Center? Okay, some of you have, of course, yes. At the Student Data Center, we have the Avanade STEM scholarships. We have the AI hackathon that we now organize for the third year, and we have other projects. So again, the Mitchell Hill Center is just one like more formal effort to be part of these whole stakeholders. And specifically, the Mitchell Hill Center is a small data center, and that's the equipment. You will see it's a small room in the College of Business. And some of the important things that we do now with this infrastructure is that we support the competitions, right? And you see this works closely with clubs like Swift that promote the competitions using that infrastructure. And then we get all these beautiful awards and first places, and we want to continue to promote that, to continue to help with, to collaborate with the students and clubs for that. But you see, there we also have a lot of participation of alumni. That the clubs that always interact with alumni, like events like this, because this continuous learning and catching up has to happen, right? So we need that. The Avanade STEM scholarships, those are about 10 to 15 scholarships for underrepresented students that, again, are also supported by Avanade. And then the AI hackathon, which yesterday was launched at Cal Poly Pomona, the AI hackathon. It's going to be until March 26, and I am organizing that. I'm very happy that we have 320 students already signed up with Avanade as the main sponsor, but other sponsors as well. So that's, and then other projects. The big, more recent project is this NSF project. As you know, how many people heard about NSF? You know what's NSF, right? The National Science Foundation. So it's basically the U.S. government providing money for different projects. So you have to apply for those projects. Everybody in the U.S., all the institutions apply, and the chances of getting one grant is pretty much like 1 out of 4. Like 1 out of 4 applications get the money. So we were lucky, I guess, because it's a lot of work, but also, the chances are low. We got a grant of $200,000 to increase that infrastructure. That, again, the infrastructure is all these servers, and Curtis probably is going to talk more about that. But the point is that we were able to get this $200,000 to increase that infrastructure. It's an infrastructure grant. And so that was a good thing. But you see, when we got the equipment, it wasn't just purchasing the equipment. it required a lot of work selecting the equipment and implementing it. And that's why the work with IT was super important. And again, Curtis probably is going to talk more about that. So my point, again, is that to get this student experiential learning, we need to continue to collaborate with all these stakeholders. We are all part of that in one box or another. You are all there. So you can't say, I graduated, I'm done. Please don't think that you're not done. And again, thanks for those who are here. I think you are part of that. The clubs play a very important role. So together, and my message is, let's keep building powerful partnerships that elevate cybersecurity learning. And that's all I have for today. Thank you. And I think we're going to go and answer questions afterwards. So please, yeah, just in case.
Good morning, and thank you for having me. My name is Curtis Carpenter. I've been asked to, Director of Advanced Computing here at Cal Poly Pomona, also adjunct faculty in the CIS department and advisor to SWIFT. I've been asked to talk a little bit about the student data center. I think it would be kind of hard to talk about the student data center without mentioning a bit about the SOC. So it'll be a bit about both of them. But mostly what we're going to talk about is an overview of the infrastructure, a bit about experiential learning, workforce readiness, and a little bit about the ingenuity that students are able to exhibit using the student data center. So, having said, so why the SDC and the SOC matter? So these environments turn cybersecurity from topics and theory that they learn in classrooms into giving them a platform to actually giving them the capability to be able to actively practice the theory that they learn and actually apply it. So this co-curricular hands-on platform gives students the ability to directly learn by doing, which is the motto of Cal Poly Pomona. And this is, a very nice example of that. It's real infrastructure and real security tools then allow them to actually work through and gain a valuable experience. In addition to that, this experience is not in simulated labs or isolated environments. This actually gives them hands-on experience, right? So also gives them a place to train year-round for clubs, all the training that all of our clubs do across campus. We have excellent clubs across campus. Also for classes, which is a new feature we'll talk about just in a few moments. And then all the competitions that our students compete in, it's really a training ground to help them be able to prepare for those different events. Also, there's an outreach component that our students give back to high schools and other community colleges, other universities by providing some of the great work they do with the competitions that they run themselves. So 2 environments, 1 learning ecosystem, right? So some of the things that we're talking about here are how the SDC, which is the Student Data Center, and the SOC, I probably won't say Student Data Center too often. From here on out, probably say SDC, but how these 2 environments help to build an ecosystem that allows students to gain practical or valuable hands-on experience. So with the student-run data center, they have enterprise-style infrastructure that they manage that provide training and experiential learning. We have virtual hosts that the workloads that they run, storage, switches, all of this is run and managed by the students. So it's a great learning environment for them. Additionally, it supports clubs, competitions, the classroom we talked about, and the faculty labs. The SOC, on the other hand, is able to look at the security posture of the student data center, right? So in that particular way, it's a hand-on environment for them to look at monitoring and detection and practice response, things that they would learn in the industry, but actually have great hands-on experience to be able to do that while they're still at Cal Poly Pomona. Again, this supports our learn by doing, or more recently termed our become by doing philosophy that we have. Right. So let students use the same categories of tools that they would encounter in the industry, as well as builds operational habits by being able to put them in situations where they'll do things much like they will be doing in the industry. So together, the SOC and the SDC help bridge what they're learning, the theory of what they're learning in class, and actually give them practical hands-on knowledge. So a little bit about the hardware in the student data center. Total is 10 servers, including 2 TrueNAS systems, some switches, a very nice storage platform. Not sure why I left that name in there. That should not be in there. Please forgive me. But the virtualization product that we're using also, I'm very proud. I did want to leave this in here because our students did a very, very good job of migrating from VMware over to Proxmox. So with that 10 servers, 3 switches, and the Proxmox virtualization environment, you'll also notice a theme of how I've started to include some of our students that have put so much into the SOC and the SDC over the years. So talk about, at a glance, some of the capacity of the student data center. It gives students enough scale and to be able to provide meaningful workloads that they have and the security tools that they need to be able to gain knowledge. Storage that we have, 232 terabytes of usable storage, 478 cores in the environment, as well as 3.7 terabytes of RAM. Now pivoting just a bit to the Student Operations Center, the SOC adds the monitoring and detection layer that allows them to look at the security posture of the student data center. Also, what we are using in there now, we're using Splunk. So we have a SIM and a SOAR that's already set up. Students are using it, gaining valuable knowledge. For CrowdStrike Falcon, it's something that we just are implementing now, but again, industry tools to allow our students to get a valuable hands-on experience. They can practice investigation, escalation, and response. So use cases. So we have our club training that the clubs use the environment for across the academic year. Preparation for the collegiate competitions, both the offensive and defensive competitions. Had to throw our students in there. It's a great tool that they use, and they've been very successful over the years. And part of that has been their direct exposure or access to being able to use the student data center and or the SOC, right? They also have created a couple competitions that they have developed and run themselves, hosted from the student data center. So King of the Hill, RVB, those are competitions that are not only help other community colleges or other universities, but also they also do outreach to give back to high school students that are in participating in Cyber Patriot. So again, some outreach efforts there as well. One of the things that I wanted to note was that they do a lot of cross-training across the year. While other students might be on beaches or giving up their summer to do other things, our students are in the student data center and using that as an opportunity to get better and cross-train. So it's where practice and meets their desire to want to get better in their initiative. So great job for the student data center. Now, some of the recent things that happened, Dr. Guzman talked a little bit about the grant that we received. It's provided some upgrades. The latest iteration of the SDC, it's not just a refresh. It expands the type of experiences and workloads that we can run within the student data center. Part of that is a new pilot that we've been using for classroom learning that could not traditionally, it's able to run workloads that could not traditionally be run in your traditional campus IT infrastructure. Part of that is also been helped on the SOC side by industry partners that have given things like Splunk or given other CrowdStrike, other applications to allow our students to get this experiential learning. The other thing that's really exciting about this, and Dr. Brown may touch on this in a little bit, but it allows them the ability to run new labs, cyber rangers, and faculty-supported use cases inside the student data center with this extra infrastructure. So as far as the instructional impact, it's a bridge into the classroom that's kind of started in the SDC. Some additional servers for this new infrastructure, switches, new storage. And what that does is it enables pod-style exercises similar to what our students are experiencing in CCDC or the CPTC competition environments, and allows them to faculty to be able to run labs like, for instance, Dr. Brown has a penetration testing lab that he does that. And again, those don't normally fit in traditional IT infrastructure. So this is a great opportunity for our students to gain valuable experience. So what the students take with them into the workforce is direct ability to be ready, resume ready, to be able to have these skills. They get hands-on experience with infrastructure, detection, not only those technical skills, but developing teamwork by cross-training and working with their peers. Additionally, our students, many of the clubs, they train all year. What will typically happen is if someone has a specific area of expertise in something, they'll help by leading that particular workshop, and then you often see it rotate to other people within the club. So it's a great opportunity for leadership as well. And so the question is, what makes the SDC special? And I would say that it's not just the equipment that's in there. So without all of our students, the SDC is just racks and equipment. The sauce, the magic of the SDC is the innovation of our students and how they use it. And that's what makes it special. It's the culture that they've developed, right? So students train with each other instead of hiding and sharing their knowledge. You actually cross-train and work with each other. One of the things that you'll see you'll see a lot, especially today, is that alumni return as working professionals to help the next group of students succeed, right? You have clubs, again, they're collaborating, they're working with each other, they're working across summers, they're doing a lot of outreach efforts, they're working with other community colleges, they're working with high school students. And then just the ability for them to work together and all the success that they've gained during the time. So just to take away in closing, the SDC and the SOC are more than just an infrastructure. They are a student-powered environment for learning, experimentation, leadership, and workforce preparation. Real hardware and modern tooling is available to the students. New capacity for faculty labs has been added to that as well. And it's helped to develop a culture of mentoring, outreach, and student ingenuity. And the last question is, how can we take this to the next level? Thank you.
And get my clicker in here. So, okay, I'm going to wrap this up and bring this home. I want to thank Indira and Curtis. They did a great job on highlighting some of the tools and techniques and everything that we have at Cal Poly to improve student learning. And that is fantastic. I'm going to give my insights, and a lot of these insights are my own personal opinion about where we're going. What are the next steps? And everything is about AI. So I entitled this talk, What in the AI? Because a lot of us have questions as to where is workforce development going? What are the jobs? Where are the jobs? And Indira kind of touched base on the loss of jobs that have happened over the past year. And just to be completely honest, there's a lot of fear out there right now as to the workforce and where we're headed. All right, sometime today. There we go. All right, so the world is on fire, and yes, I did do this before before February 28th, when the world actually did come around and turn on fire. But we have that sense of what in the world is happening because of everything that is developing with AI. And one of the things that we do as humans, we look for patterns. And as humans, we incorporate that into our tools, including AI. So a lot of the issue is with how do we measure AI, right? You hear about all these benchmark tests, and AI is now smarter than, 3 years ago it was smarter than a college student, and now it's as smart as a PhD student, and is going to be even smarter still here in the next few years, right? I'm sure you've all heard that hype. Well, there's a lot of data that is out there, okay? And some of it comes up really recently. This one right here in the upper right-hand corner, that was from Anthropic, about how they're measuring how AI is taking over different job types. the jobs that are at risk, the impact that AI is going to have on everything. Okay. What jobs are being replaced, the outlook of what the actual processing is going to be for the market by 2030. There's a lot of hype. There's a lot of speculation. So, what's the gathering storm here? Well, it's already impacting several industries. We see it in the accounting industry. We see it in law. We see it in sales across everything: retail, warehousing, customer service, receptionists, insurance underwriting. In essence, every piece of entry-level work in these industries and more. Okay. It is incredibly difficult for students now coming into college, or graduates who are getting out into the workforce, to get that first job. Now, I'm not only teach here at Cal Poly, I also teach at a community college. I have a lot of career transition folk, and it's even harder for them. This little graphic here that I have, I like that, because not only do students have to, or graduates have to try to find that entry-level work, it's like they have to start in at a mid-level, mid to senior level nowadays from what they did even just 4 years ago. So the challenges are there, and they're not getting any easier. And I know I'm saying a lot of doom and gloom. That's okay. Bear with me. It does turn, I promise. So, piece of advice: take control. Be the predator, not the prey. What do I mean by that? All right. What you can learn now, what you can do to understand how AI's impact on the industries are taking shape, will better suit you for when you enter the workforce. Okay. And I'm going to be completely honest. There's not a lot of university programs out there, not a lot of university classes out there that have AI incorporated in them. Okay. And I'm sorry, folks, going into ChatGPT or Claude or Gronk or Copilot and putting it, that's not AI. That's just you using an advanced search engine. Getting under the hood. I like to use this analogy. Okay, so the folks who use ChatGPT and Claude and they use it for research or searching, that's great. It's like me driving a car. I have a driver's license. Okay, I can drive a car. That's great. All right. I am not a mechanic. If I open my hood, I look inside there, I'm like, what in the world is this stuff? Okay. Now, becoming the mechanic of the eye and understanding how the agents work, how the LLMs work, how to do the programming behind the MCP servers, and building out tool sets to work with AI, that's where you have to push yourself. Okay. And then there's a management layer on top of that. AIs don't manage themselves. You don't want them to manage themselves. Okay. So we have to have a human in the loop. That's a common terminology that you hear in this industry, the human in the loop. Careers are changing. Job titles are changing. All right. I used to drive past this building out in downtown LA. It's like right there by the 10 and 105 freeway. It was called the LA Times. All right. Their industry has changed over the last quarter century. Who actually gets a newspaper on their front door anymore? I thought so. Okay. We read news. We get news from different angles and different avenues nowadays, not traditional media. Okay. It's the same type of instance that we're seeing. We're seeing a shakeup in the industry. Okay. I challenge all of you to rise to the occasion and start learning how to be the mechanic, how AI operates, how you can leverage AI in your own jobs, because it's a must. So there's all kinds of different titles here, and I know I'm running short on time. I do want to have time for some questions. All right. So that's a lot of doom and gloom, right? A lot of blood in the water. We've heard about all these jobs that have been lost over the past year, 2 years. Okay. Well, this isn't the end because there's a lot of questions out there about AI, okay, as to the hype. All right. Cyclical financing. So cyclical financing is where you have one company sell another company widget A through Z, and then company B says, okay, I'll pay you with my stock, and then you can sell my stock to make more money. And there's actually no cash that changes hands. All right. I saw this 26, 27 years ago in the dot-com era. We saw this 15, 16 years ago prior to the Great Recession in the finance and real estate markets. AI is no different. The leaderships of these organizations, I question them because they are out there for one thing and one thing only, to make money. Okay, to make money for their stockholders and make money for their investors. And that's even at question right now. Okay. OpenAI, I think, made $22 billion in revenue last year. That's a lot of money. Their expenditures were $220 billion. I'm sorry, folks. I don't teach math, but I know that that doesn't add up. It doesn't take somebody outside of a fourth grade math class to figure that out. The AI curve. It's good to know the answers. Okay, so the AI curve. What this is about is they keep measuring the AIs against these benchmarks. Okay? And they know what those benchmarks are. If I gave a test to every one of you, and not saying that I haven't done this, and I gave you all the answers ahead of time, I would expect everybody to get an A, right? Well, it's no different. They already have the answers to the questions. Okay, so they can front load that. All the models are making strides, and I'm not taking things away from large language models. I use a large language model every day. Okay, I actually wrote an AI agent program that is basically my teaching assistant. It helps me grade. It helps me answer discussion questions. It's been wonderful. It took me about 120 hours to build it, and it saves me about 20 hours a week. Okay. AI is here to stay. You just have to learn how you can take advantage of it. So that's the challenge that you have in front of you. Okay. Is there a bubble? Well, let me give you an example. Let's just say that I'm a grandpa. Okay. I'm not a grandpa yet, but let's say I am. And I'm astonished at how fast my grandson, Timmy, we'll call him Timmy, is growing, and he's achieving so much at a young age. I mean, look at him. In only a few months, he started crawling. And then, by a year or so, he started walking. And then by about 3, he was sprinting. Man, I can only guess that he'll be flying by 5. This is some of the hype that you get from these AI companies. Okay? They think that they can actually break the laws of physics. There was a study that came out by MIT just last week that kind of showed the boundary of the very large language models and what they can actually achieve. Because there's a barrier in compute and in power. All right. You can only double the amount of data so much until you have to have all that extra power, water, cooling to meet those growth curves. Okay. There's a top end, and we're actually really close to it. Okay. All a large language model is language. It guesses at what the next word should be. Okay. So one thing with that, I've seen this movie before. And I've been told since I was like 5 years old, back in the 1970s, that fusion is 10 years away. And every time I hear that, I heard that in 1980, I heard it in 85, I heard it in 90. Right? How many fusion generators do we have? right? I put up a couple of other things up here because I kind of see where this industry is going, where it's leading. All right, pets.com, e-toys, they were big in the .com era. They're no longer there. All right, but I have Cisco up here. Well, even Professor Carpenter said that they have a big old Catalyst 9500 in the data center. Cisco's still around, right? They didn't. Well, we're going to see the same thing. Okay, the Google, the Meta, the Microsoft, they have significant investment in AI, yes. The OpenAI, Anthropics, and other small AI companies that are out there, I feel that they're going to go the way of the pets.com, the e-toys. And I have friends that work at Anthropic, right? I know people that work on the Anthropic red team that have done some amazing things with Kali Linux in the last 6 months that I'm actually going to incorporate in my classes because it's really cool. Again, it's just a tool. Right? But Cisco was the world's largest company in 2000 by market cap. Now, can anybody tell me after the dot-com crash, how long did it take Cisco to make it back to its top end stock price? How many, let's say years. How many years? Guesses? Who would say like 5 years? Buddy? Who would say 10? 10 years? Okay. How about 15? Quarter century, folks. It took them 25 years to make their stock price back to what it was at its height in 2000. It just did it last year in 2025. Okay. So that's how much of an impact a bubble can have. And if you listen to the experts, the bubble for AI is 4 to 6 times larger than what the dot-com bubble was, which blows my mind. So where does that bring us? Well, there's more questions out there than there are answers right now with AI, in my opinion. Right? When AI starts solving some major problems like, oh, this is how we should solve climate change, or, oh, here's the formula for the new pharmaceutical to cure cancer, or here's this great thing that it has solved. Okay, I'll be a believer then. I absolutely will. I will eat my lunch and sit down and be happy. Okay? And I hope we get there. I do. Physics don't encourage that. It doesn't really lead to that. So thank you very much. I hope I didn't scare you too much, but I love giving these kinds of talks because we just have to reinvent ourselves every 10 to 15 years, and we're at that cusp. So I will ask questions of either of me, Dr. Guzman, Professor Carpenter. We got about 5 or 6 minutes before we get kicked out of here. Anybody? Yeah.
All the options out there, it's very overwhelming. Do you have any specific starting points that you would recommend to like cut through the noise? Like if I'm asking myself, like, where do I even start? Like, how do I know if I'll even like a career in cybersecurity? Yeah, like give me advice or.
So my question to you, Kenny, would be, what gets you out of bed in the morning? What motivates you?
Optimizing systems.
Optimizing systems. Okay. AI does that now because it can do that with the very large language models. What I would suggest you do is you start diving into the more agentic areas of AI, right? So let's say you have your home PC. How can I better automate my home PC? Go into Claude or ChatGPT or Gronk or whatever flavor of AI you like and ask it, okay, hey, I want to build a program that will back up my computer, check the patches are up to date, take that backup, ship it off to my NAS or ship it off to my cloud account. How can I do that at a push of a button instead of doing 5 different things? Right? Now you can look that up all on your own. That'll take you probably, if I'm guessing, you're a pretty smart guy, I bet, Kenny. I'd probably take you about 4 hours, right? You can do it in probably about 40 minutes. So it's those types of things, those types of automation. That's where that's the sweet spot, right? So you need to start learning how to do that, right? And the cybersecurity is a wrapper for a lot of different things, right? It's just a wrapper. How do I make this more secure? How can I automate it to make it more secure? How can I check it that it's still secure? Sorry, I'm rambling. Any other questions? Yeah. Yes.
My name is Pete, and I've seen like a lot of places starting, with them laying off a lot of juniors, or like not even hiring juniors, and letting the seniors basically almost use AI to write all of the code without actually handwriting anything. As a new grad, is there any? Should we just dive into using AI, or should we still go ahead and like focus on the technical skills? And also, like, how should we gain the experience for system designs? Because I do know that like the value for having a senior engineer is their knowledge for design system and architecting.
Right. So there's no good way to put this. I think entry level, the bar from where entry level is moving. It's shifting to the right. Okay. So what was entry level 3 years ago is now mid-level. You're going to be starting out in mid-level coming out of university, right? As far as your questions about programming and everything else, let me give you an example. So the TA program that I wrote that answers my discussion questions and grades my quizzes and all that stuff, I learned that after taking a class at DEF CON last year by one of my former students from here at Cal Poly. And I then dove into writing it. I wrote it in Python with a little bit of Rust. And that was the most programming I had done in 26 years. Right? And I vibe coded the hell out of it. But that forced me to go back and remind myself, okay, so that's a function. What is it calling? Where's the variables from? How does object-oriented code, it refreshed my memory a lot. And from a new perspective and somebody just entering, that will reinforce what you're learning in the classroom. Okay, and just make you a stronger programmer or a stronger data analyst or stronger whatever you are in your field.
Let me jump in on that. So this is gonna sound weird, but so going back to elementary school, if they gave us calculators without teaching us how to try it, we'd be in trouble, right? Because we wouldn't know what's actually happening under the hood, or if we got some problem that had some variation, we wouldn't know how to do it. You still have to learn the basics of what's happening because the AI can hallucinate. There's a lot of things that happen. Right? So you still have to understand the fundamentals. However, you just have to be able to incorporate the tools into what you're doing to make you more effective. So it's don't walk away from learning the skill and how to do it and solely rely on AI. Rather, still grasp the fundamentals, but then figure out how you can use AI to help push yourself forward.
So I'm sure you've heard this. If you're not using AI every day, you're falling behind. I would push that even further. If you're not using AI the right way every day, you're falling behind. And what's the right way? Well, what direction are you wanting to push yourself in the career space? Are you constantly looking at how careers are changing? Are you constantly looking at how job titles are changing? Are you constantly looking at what is going to be around in 2, 3, 5 years? Okay. That's what you need to do. That's that's kind of one of the secrets of my success, right? I started out pulling cable and then became a network engineer. I haven't programmed a switch or a router for an actual company in 16 years. I moved on to security. I moved on to voice, moved on to project management. I kept trying to stay at the top of that wave. That's what you should do. Because otherwise, you're gonna drown.
I think another way of looking at what he just
I'm sorry, I'm doom and gloom today.
No, another way of looking at what he just said is just so quickly. How quickly does technology change? Right? How often are we getting new things? Right? So you can spend all your time becoming an expert in something today. Will that even be relevant 5 years from now? So again, we're all lifelong learners in this industry. So you're gonna find yourself reinventing yourself. And part of what he's saying is you have to keep your eye open to that next wave, the next curve, right? Because you're gonna have to figure out how you're gonna stay on top, right? Otherwise, you're gonna fall off the surfboard and your water's. You gotta keep going. You gotta keep going. So how are you going to use the tools available to you, whether it be AI or something else, to help you stay ahead?
Anyway, I'll hang out here over here. If you guys want to come ask me questions, talk to me, be by all means, please do so. I'll be around here for about the next half hour or so. So thank you guys.